What's up, Facebook and YouTube? This is gonna be the first video of a very extensive series of videos that I'm gonna go into concerning more of a historical aspect of our ancient cosmology as it deals with the Dogon and many other ancient cultures and areas that we are familiar with in ancient Kemet and even various other parts of the world. So with that being said, we're gonna hop right into it. We have no time to waste. We're gonna get a lot in these next series of videos. We're gonna be blown away. What I'm gonna show you right now is so important. So just pay attention and stay with me, people. Thanks everybody for joining in. Now, first of all, let me put this on the table. People are not making the connections with all of this symbolism that we've been misinterpreting for years because we're caught up in spookism. We're caught up in misinformation. And now all I'm trying to do here is share some with y'all that we haven't been told. Now, a lot of people know history about the Dogon. There's a lot of familiar symbols we see, especially if we are Kemetic people and we delve into that aspect of the history. A lot of familiar symbols we know are sacred, like the honeybee or the beetle, or even the Merkaba vessel or things like that. Many of you see the 6-point stars, you see different things. You know, we're going to get into all of that stuff. Now listen, I got to get into a lot of basic stuff before we get into the deep stuff. So let me go ahead. Now, there is no outer space. It's all inner space. The Dogon aren't from Sirius. None of us are. And I will prove that by the end of this video. The symbol that the Dogon wear is the ancient bee goddess and the beehive cosmology symbol, and I'm going to be proving that in this video. We're going to be doing a lot of different demonstrations and showing y'all symbolism on everyday things that's been hidden right in front of your face. So realize that the only connection that all of this does have to do with Orion or Sirius is the placement in the sky in relation to astrology for the sake of timekeeping and calendar making, and we'll go into that deeper in a minute. Now basically what that is certain constellations were sacred based on the people in that area. Whatever area you were in, you may have had a different sacred constellation than the next group of people. But for the most part, they all had some of the same known constellations because they're just so visible in the sky. The sky was used like a clock by our ancestors. They knew that the earth was still and that the sky was moving. So just like a clock on a wall with both of the hands moving, you got 3 hands on there. You got the red one ticking round, and you got your long minute hand, your short hour hand. Minute hand means the moon, hour hand means the sun. I'll get into that in a future video. But what I want to say is that the clock is stationary. If the clock was spinning with the hands on the clock, the time would be off. So that's what's happening today. They're telling us that the earth is now spinning with the stars. As a result, we're on a false Gregorian calendar and our whole time is off. So when the earth is still, we can get back on the time of the Most High. The earth represents the base of that clock, the disc that those hands are turning upon. The 12 numbers would be your 12 zodiacs. So understand that the zodiac is actually spinning and the whole clock is actually based upon the sun and the moon, the hour and minute hand, where they are aligned in that zodiac, which would be 12 units, just like your zodiac. Now, I'll be getting deeper into that in the future. This is going to be strictly, like I said, on the Dogon. And like I said, this is just stuff we got to get into and lay on the table before we get into all the deep symbolism. Now, understand that that's the only significance of those signs, all right? And there's other significance to them also. Basically, what I want to say is that it doesn't mean that the Dogon is from Sirius and, you know, we traveled light years through stargates to get here and all of that. That is the sci-fi spookism that we've been given misinformation. One thing I wanted to point out to you is there's a lot of European journalists who go over with the Dogon tribe and come back with pictures and journals, and now we can't speak their language and they're supposed to be interpreting to us what the Dogon said. And what happens is they feed us a bunch of baloney and BS. They don't give us the true story of what the Dogon actually said when they interpret it, because they hide in the cosmology from us. The symbol that the Dogon uses is not for Sirius. Think about it, people. They wouldn't be marching around with Sirius constellation on their head. That's a goddess. That's the bee goddess. That's the bee beetle. And I'm going to show you all of this in a minute, and how I can prove to you that it's not Sirius, because this same symbol that we're saying that the Dogon used for Sirius, there are many, many other ancient cultures who have this same symbol also, and they're not from Sirius. So why would the Dogon be the only ones that's using this same symbol all the other ancient cultures are using, but they're saying it means something different? People, we've been lied to. Now, this same symbol the Dogon used for the bee goddess or for the beetle is the same symbol that the ancient old kingdom Egyptian used for the goddess cosmology. That's what the Dogon know about the cosmology that they don't want us to know. They want to tell you that sign mean we from Sirius. Like I said, they created outer space so we won't know about the true cosmology of Mother Earth. We're in the beehive and we're the beings. If you stay with me, I'm gonna free your mind. Now understand that they hiding that Dogon cosmology got us thinking we light years away from Sirius. The Dogon tribe is one of the revered tribes on the planet because they actually kept the oldest science. They actually kept that old matriarch science. Now listen, a lot of your comedic teachers are not going to deal with this flat earth cosmology. They base their whole businesses off that globe earth lie. Okay, all you got to do is go on YouTube and listen to your teachers concerning the flat earth topic. They dancing around it. They don't want to touch on it. They know the truth. They can't touch on it. They done built the whole industry off the globe. So just stay with me and I'm going to prove everything I'm saying, and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. So in other words, we're not serpent people from a Sirius star light years away. We are beings within a cosmic egg, and a serpent only represents the spiral or vortex energy that revolves around the pole. Okay, so everything inside of the cosmic egg receives its energy via this umbilical cord or the North Pole. Now around this North Pole is a polarity type energy, a negative positive energy like we see in the battery, okay, that creates this vortex energy. All right, we don't create nothing new. Man only studied this planisphere and based all of his technology off it. And in the future, I'm gonna show you how Nikola Tesla got all of his technology based on this cosmology. So stay with me now. The yin yang shows that spiral that I'm talking about. So when you look at the yin yang, think of it this way. Think about the Batman symbol. Remember in the Batman movie how they shine that bat symbol on the sky, but you can see where it's coming from the building, from the light. It creates like a triangle. It's like a cone on the sky. Once the Batman gets projected up there, it's a circular logo, but it comes back to the source, which is the projector, to a point. It forms like a cone to create that. So when you look at the yin yang, look at it like the bat symbol projected on the sky. That's the sun and moon, okay? They going around above us in this cosmic dance, this spiral dance, like that cone that I'm telling you about that the light creates, just like a drain in the sink creates or a tornado. That's the invisible energy that's created around the North Pole. It's like the sun and moon is stirring up this bowl or stirring up the elements in the atmosphere, creating this electrical energy that we're going to speak more about later. So understand that above us, the sun and moon is doing their yin yang dance, and just like that Batman symbol, that energy travels a vertical pole in the center of the disk that feeds each layer of the cosmic egg, each dimension, and the dimensions are interwoven to create reality. Now we're going to talk about that later. Stay with me. So like I said, this energy that the yin yang creates, when you look at the yin yang, you just looking at the 6 and the 9. Think of the sets position, the 6, 9. So that's as above, so below, as within, so without. When you look at the Merkaba, you see one triangle up, one triangle down. When you connect them, in the middle, you got what's called the hex or the honeycomb. That's the heart of the Merkaba. Now, we're going to speak about that later. All of this tie in together. So stay with me. We're going to do one thing at a time. Right now, we're talking about that pole energy right now. So like I said, the yin yang, think about the cone from the projection like the Batman symbol. What happens is the energy travels on a vertical pole throughout this whole cosmic egg. This energy even goes in the center of the earth. There's a hole at the North Pole. So you can kind of see now what I'm saying as you can think about this energy coming from the top of the dome, trickling its way back in and out and back, overlapping itself again, just like the beetle image represents. It represents like a curve on each side, or the antenna would be like the tip of the vortex. And the energy is like a slinky energy, like you got the season spring and fall, just like a slinky. You press down and it pounces up, and you press it down and it pounces up again. So that same up, down, yin yang, slinky energy is what we see. So this energy comes down from above into the center of the earth, where it's actually fed back out again, and it's a continuum. It keeps going again, just like that slinky. Okay, long as that's the sun and the moon keep doing their circuit. So this creating actual electrical energy based on the circuit of the sun and moon stirring that up. The sun and moon are just polarities of the same thing. Okay, just like you got a higher self and a lower self. Okay, when you look at that yin yang, the sun is nothing but the polarity of the moon and vice versa. They both have their diversity in them. We're going to talk more about this later. All right, I want to stay on point with my notes. I hope you guys get a picture of what I'm saying. By the end of the video, you will. We're going to do many demonstrations. So the yin yang shows that spiral. All you looking at is the 6 and the 9, the spring fall energy that transitions to summer and winter. So you can see the dynamics here, even in the transitions from spring to fall, which is a mild transitioning, then summer and winter, which are more contrast, more drastic transitioning. This continuum plays in on each layer of even your vessel and also the earth, which is the cosmic egg, and also your body is a Merkaba, or what we would call a mini cosmic egg, and it's created with this same science, and you will understand that as we move on. So this polarity is like a spiral dance, and all things even create their own energy based on this science, as above so below. So the battery equals positive and negative, and both of those together, coming together, the duality of those, the balancing of those, okay, creates power. And when you say the word balance and you say the word battery, they both start with Ba, and we know that Ba represents the soul. And you're going to see why I pointed that out in a minute when we talk about the battery, which is the positive, negative, yin yang creating the battery cell, which is also the sun and moon creating the cosmic eggs battery, that vortex energy around the pole, night and day. Positive ions, negative ions creating the weather based on this circuit of the sun and moon. And when you say circuit, you're talking about electricity. You're talking about based on this dance, there's a circuit that they're doing. And based on this circuit, energy is created. Just like circuits that we use in our house with electricity when we create energy with positive and negative in our house. So when you look at a plug, each little teeth of the plug, one side would be negative, one side would be positive, okay? When you look at that yin yang, and it creates the power. So understand that, and understand that Ba being the root word of battery and balance, because the power comes from the balancing. So you can't look at one of them as like we say, okay, my lower self is evil. I just wanted to point out about the Ba, that's the soul, that's the balancing, okay? The Ba and the Ka, we're talking about the soul, the spirit, the mind, all of that. Understand that the sun and moon are reverse polarities and equal luminaries with diverse properties, like night and day, but the link creates existence. So the sun and moon are on a circuit or a circular pattern, yin-yang dance, spiraling vortex, creating a constant flow of endless electricity by stirring up negative ions, positive ions in the atmosphere. So like I said, that circuit creates electricity by stirring up those different elements. Okay, so y'all see how the electricity works with this circuit. And even in your house, electricity is created based on that circuit, that negative and positive. Inside of that battery, okay, there's a balancing going on that's creating an energy, all right? Only thing about the house battery and the battery to this cosmic egg is the most high battery never die, all right? So it is way better than Energizer. Now we're going to move on. Like I said, we got a lot to learn about the Dogon, but first we got to start with the symbols and the ancient cosmology. We got to understand how the dimensions are linked. So what we call in dimensions are basically the cosmic layers, and we're going to get into that real deep. So how the system works, the firmament above, the plane being the midpoint, which is the earth, which holds the mediums. We know that another word for soul is a medium. People say we're channeling mediums. There's nothing but human souls. Humans are mediums. We're the midpoint. So the higher you and the lower you, when it intersects, is what brings the medium into existence, the physical human, all right? You're the medium, and the earth is the midpoint. midpoint because it's the middle point between the heavens above and the underworld below. And the mediums exist on that midpoint, or the beings, okay, live inside of this hive. And you're going to see how all of this play on as we move on in a minute. We just got to set this foundation. Like I said, the dimensions are linked. They are cosmic layers. And the firmament above, which is the arch, and then you got your midpoint in the middle, or your straight line, which is the earth flat plane, and then your underworld. This is where it get interesting. It's actually a bowl. So like I said, there go that polarity again, which creates the energy in the middle of the egg. So the top of the firmament, which is an arch, and the bottom under the earth being shaped as a bowl that they call Sheol, being the underworld, being the opposite of the arch, is like the yin and the yang. The energy that's channeled from the underworld to the top of the firmament is the same energy, all right, making its journey. And the midpoint creates existence. So if any one of those worlds leave, the midpoint couldn't be here. So this cosmic egg, like I said, the dimensions are cosmic layers. The earth is the physical plane. It only exists because of the heavens above and the underworld below. Just like the power in the battery only exists because the negative end and the positive end. So when you look at the planetarium system, when you look at the flat plane in the middle, that represents the midpoint where the yin meets the yang, okay? That's the balance, the ba, what I just told you about. That balance is what creates existence. The word balance is synonymous with medium, okay? Midpoint. When something is medium, it's balanced. It got 50% this, 50% that, just like the yin yang. So balance and medium. We're mediums. We're beings. And you're going to see how all of this tie in with the beehive and the bee cosmology. All right. So understand that we're the midpoint. All right. Now, what I wanted to point out was that underworld is the bowl. Now, when you take that journey, only thing happens is you go back up again, just like that spring, that slinky. Once you reach the underworld, you spring back up and you descend back to the midpoint from above again, just the way you came, and it replays itself. This is called eternity. All right. That is called eternity. Why are we scared of it? It's beautiful, people. So even when you say the word beautiful, the first two words is B-E, just like bee, just like beetle, just like being, okay? So back to the bowl, the underworld being the bowl. Why I'm standing here and pointing it out is because when you talk about the cup and the bowl, that's the opposite of the arch. Now, don't look at this in a bad way. All of this stuff, like I said, it's your negative, your positive, your yin yang. It's what creates the earth midpoint. We need both of those. So yes, we need the underworld. All right. So the underworld is nothing but, just like you got a higher self and lower self, the divine feminine has a higher self and lower self. So the underworld is representative of that lower self. The firmament dome, the arch, is representative of that higher self. As above, so below. Now, when you get to the bottom, which is the underworld Sheol, like I said, the bowl, I want you to understand something. That's the journey you take when you finish. When you go into the earth, you go into the underworld of that bowl and you spring back up. That bowl represents the end, but every ending represents a new beginning. That's the reason they say the Super Bowl and the World Cup. That's the last game. The Super Bowl is the last game of the season. Okay, just like the circuit of the sun creates the seasons, and the Super Bowl is the last game of the season. So them stars above your head creating your time on this astrological clock. The sky is a clock, like I said. And when your time is up, you go to the bowl. That's the Super Bowl, the last game. That's your last game. Okay, that's the Super Bowl. And you get placed in the bowl or the World Cup. You notice at the end of these sports events, they call them cups or bowls. That's the final part. And when you say bowl, the root word of bowl is bow. And you know that the bow is the arch. Again, all of this going to make more sense to you as we move on, because this go back into the bow and arrow. When you look at the bow and arrow, you got the arch with the straight line. That's what even gives the bow and arrow its energy. So all of this stuff in our reality, we created off the cosmology. The ancients learned how to create bow and arrows and knew that the bow and arrow would make this spear have energy to fly based on this vortex energy that they saw in our cosmology. So the arch you see on the bow and the word bowl and all of these root words gonna tie in as we move forward. But I got to stay on point with my notes here. I'm already getting way far off, y'all. People, our ancestors were able to make those calendars so accurately based on the earth being immovable and the stars going around. Now, this going back to what I mentioned in the first beginning of the video about the alignment of certain objects with these constellations and the significance of Orion and other constellations has to do with their placement in the sky, and you can always refer to this to tell time with. For example, our ancestors didn't have skyscrapers and big cities like we did. They had certain monuments in a certain area that everybody went to revere that area, and there was a lot of energy in that area. They didn't just overbuild like we did. But that being said, what I want to say is when they did build like that, they aligned certain stuff with the stars so that they knew that if the earth is not moving, and if I line this up with a certain constellation that's always making its circuit with the sun and moon, I can always tell time. So the structure being on a stationary earth is still, it's stable, it's in the same spot. You can have a point of reference with that as the stars move, and you can see every time that this constellation realigns with the monument represents a circuit or a revolution, or however you want to call it. But they understood that the earth was immovable. They was able to do these great feats by knowing this simple secret, okay? Just like a clockwork, like I told you previously. If the earth was moving with those constellations, the alignment wouldn't be able to be possible. So that's the simple secret that our ancestors knew. Now, it ties into all of this symbolism we're about to get into, because we've been told that since the ancestors lined the pyramids with Orion and that the Dogon have the symbol of Orion, that means we are from Orion. Inaccurate, people. That's not true. All right. Orion is significant because it's so findable in the night sky. No matter where you are on the earth, it ain't really hard to find Orion. So for people who studied the night sky like our ancestors, it will be like your average city slicker today. If you drop me off in New York, I won't know my way around, but I will find a big building or a skyscraper or some monument that I can refer to get around. Okay, I live in Las Vegas, and when I first moved out here, I didn't know my way around. So I would always find my way back to my area because I knew I lived by the stratosphere, and I can always find that tall stratosphere no matter where I was in the valley, and that's what always got me back home in the right direction. So that landmark, okay, what everyone in the city can see, that's what we talk about why everyone revered Orion. It was like that large skyscraper in the night sky, that one that stood out that we can rely on to tell time with. Now, I will be breaking down to you what the Dogon symbol means. It does indeed shape like the constellation of Orion, but that's not its true significance. The sign represents the bee goddess, and as I said, we're going to be breaking that down. This is going to be a long intro, just laying the foundation. So let's move on. Basically, what I wanted to point out was that many of our ancestors aligned certain items with different stuff in the sky, but yet we don't say that everybody is from all of these other different constellations. We look at the pyramids at Giza lined up with Orion, we say, hey, the Egyptians were from Orion. We see the Dogon with the Orion side, we say they from Orion. But when we go down here to South America, we have pyramids that are lined up with the sun. They're lined up with the certain way the sun sets at certain time. So should we say that the Aztecs are from the sun? With the ideology and the philosophy we got by saying that just because they revered the symbol, they're from there, is baloney. That means that anybody that has anything lined up with anything in the sky must be from there. So if you lined up something with the moon, you're from the moon. We've been bamboozled, and I'm going to show y'all what these symbols really mean. So understand, like I said, that it's called the Super Bowl because it's the last game. You go into the underworld, which is shaped like a bowl, which is shaped like a cup. So that's why they call the last soccer game, or, you know, the last tennis game, the World Cup. All right. When you think about a trophy, when you look at the trophy, what they got at the top is that cup little figurine. game. That's the bowl. That's the last game. Now, that don't mean that a new season ain't gonna start. So that's the whole continuum. These football games and basketball games, they said we have seasons, just like summer, spring, fall, winter, like the sun do with this circuit that I'm telling you about. So at the end of your season, you get placed in the bowl. You on the board right now, or the field right now, which is the earth plane. All right. You can look at life like playing a game. It's just an experience of the soul. It can really be a heaven. But like I said, I gotta move on, but I don't want to short y'all at all with any of this information. So stay with me. Like I said, the Europeans gave us misinformation, telling us that the Dogon symbol meant that we from Sirius. They want us believing in spookism and stargates and all of that while they sit back and laugh at us people. They know that all of this is nothing but the bee goddess that the Dogon got on their head. That's all they got is the bee goddess, just like all these other ancient cultures. And I'm finna show you what I'm talking about in a minute. The bee is shaped in the same image of the vortex energy. Now, as we move on, we finna get real deep into this Dogon symbol and all of this stuff. I'm gonna make a future video too within this series talking about Beyonce, because she's invoking the bee goddess energy. That's how she hypnotizes her fans. And I can show you plenty concerts where she got the black and yellow on, dressed like a bee, doing this bee goddess ritual, and y'all don't even know where this cosmology come from. And I'm trying to tell you, when you look at the Steelers symbol, they got the black and yellow there, and people say those stars represent Sirius that the Steelers got. But all of this linked back to the Dogon deception that they want you to believe. Because when you go back to the black and yellow, you talking about the bumblebee. That's what the Dogon really talking about. But they want you to think it mean the Sirius stars. The sign that the Dogon got on their head is the bumblebee symbol. Before we get into all the Dogon symbols, y'all, I got to go through this stuff, okay? I really need y'all to stay with me because it's so much, it's real deep. So let's get into it. Now, the 6-point star equals the Merkaba. They'll get Rick Ross and they'll get the Jewish people and all of that to tank this stuff, but it's really positive spiritual science. The 6-pointed star is under the Merkaba, and understand that in the middle of the Merkaba is the cube. The hexagon forms the cube, okay? When you take that hexagon and draw the lines in the middle of it and make it 3D, it becomes the cube, okay? And that's what the honeycomb is. People try to make this into spookism and say that it's spooky and we're in a prison because it's a box, it's a cube. But the box is just the circle. It's the polarity of the circle. They both is the 360. The box ain't nothing but the swastika. If you connect all the ends of the swastika, you get the box. So the Milky Way galaxy is a NASA deception, a painting, an illustration. It only represents the yin yang. That's all the Milky Way galaxy is. So when we say galaxy, what it means is, yes, the gal represents the whole. What they don't show you is that when they show you all of them bogus pictures of these galaxies that's shaped like the Milky Way galaxy with the big pole going through the middle of it, that's the axis, or the axle, the axis. That's the vertical pole they don't want you to know. That's the polarity. They got your cosmology twisted. So when you say galaxy, the Milky Way, Andromeda, all of that is illusions. That's hoaxes. That's NASA deceptions. The galaxy is the cosmic egg. What it is the gal. When you look at the G, okay, the spiral, that's nothing but the spiral, the vortex, y'all, from the divine feminine above. So like I said, the gal is the egg, and the axis is what they telling you, the axis, or the pole that penetrates through the egg and feeds the whole egg. Just like the gal would be the womb or the vagina, and the axis would be the penis that goes inside of that hole and penetrates it. That's why it's called a penis, because it penetrate. Penis. The obelisk is only the penis. The Egyptian obelisk is only the male phallus, the penis. It's a symbol of resurrection. When you say resurrection, you're only saying rise, erection. So when that penis rise, erection, and enters the gal, then the continuum happens, all right? The bow and arrow, think about it. The arch is the feminine. The arrow, the straight line, okay, would be the horus or the horizon or the masculine. But when you say masculine, the root word of masculine is ma also. So the male can't escape the feminine. Because even when you say male, you can't escape the ma root in male or masculine. He comes from the mama. That's why he's just Y. Okay, the Y chromosome got a broken leg. The X is nothing but two Y's, the yin and the yang. Y plus Y equals X. If you have one Y pointed up and one Y pointed down, you get the X, and you also get the Dogon symbol. You also get the yin yang, the Merkaba, the as above, so below. It's the same thing in all of these symbols, people, okay? It's the negative positive. It creates the continuum, all right? The 6-9, the yin yang, the vortex, the spiral. So when you say the word spiral, the S is at the beginning. Understand that the S is at the beginning of the word serpent and snake. This same S is at the center of the yin yang. This S is what creates the yin yang. It's what separates the circle, but separating is not what you think. It's an act of unison. It's an act of polarity balance and creating one divine energy, one cosmic egg based on these polarities. So the S in the middle of the circle creates the yin yang, people. It creates the two fishes that you see. So the letter S itself is the snake, it's the serpent, all right? All of these letters are just symbols, people. Now, when you take the S and place it into the egg, like I'm telling you how the cosmic egg is set up with the vertical pole going through its center with the snake wrapped around that pole. When you take the egg and draw a straight line in it, it divides it up 50-50 like the yin yang too, into two arches though. You see, there go your arches again. It's your two halves facing opposite ways, and if you keep doing it, you will get a continuum based on these arches, and it even look like DNA. Okay, now if you want to split that circle another way, you can curve it like that S and you'll get the yin yang. All right, and that'll make a continuum, and you can continue that out. So the S in the middle of that circle creates the yin yang, the spiral. All right, understand the symbolism in all of this, y'all, because when you take the S plus the circle, which is the zero is nothing but the 360. The zero is the most highest number in all of the numbers, the zero. Okay, the zero can go into all of the numbers, okay, and all of the numbers can go into the zero, and when you multiply any number by zero, it go back to zero. That's just the point of singularity. The zero is nothing but the 360. It's the circle itself. So look at this stuff in symbols, people. So when you say the S plus the zero equals the yin yang, and if you keep on doing it, what you'll get is SOSOSOSOS, and all that is the same old ish, same old shit, same old shit. It's the continuum. Excuse my language, I had to use that to show y'all what I'm talking about, because many of y'all familiar with SOSOSS, and that's how that whole concept come about. All right, so the S is the ESS, the SESS, or the essence. All right, and even when you take the E and you begin to invert it, you can see how you get your Dogon symbol again. So like I said, when you take the S and you spell it out, ESS, it's the root of essence, because that spiral energy, that S energy, is what creates the energy for this whole cosmic egg, that vortex energy, that S, that spiral, that snake that they want you to fear, that's at that tree of life. The tree of life is the North Pole, the snake wrapped around it is the vortex energy. So the E, the essence, think about the E. The E is nothing but the pitchfork. The pitchfork is one half of the Dogon. So when you look at this Dogon symbol, you're just looking at the yin yang, y'all. You're looking at the bee goddess. All of this stuff was told in different ways, y'all. Okay, now the Dogon symbol is the same thing as the end of the football field, which is your field goal, which we're going to be discussing all of the football field symbolism in a minute. Stay with me. I want to talk about this pitchfork, which is the E. Okay, so your E is your pitchforks. When you turn each way and begin to build a continuum with those, you see your Dogon symbol manifest itself, because it's the same science, the yin yang. It's the same stuff, as above, so below. The Dogon symbol is the same as the Merkaba, the same as the yin yang. It's the same pattern that creates our cosmology, that creates our very existence, people. This the time-space fabric that they telling y'all about, but they deceiving y'all with it. So understand that the E is the same weapon that the Ninja Turtle Raphael used. And when you look at his name, it's Ra. We know that go back to the Egyptian sun god. Like I said, that's the sun. You got your Fa, your feminine, or your moon, your phoenix. your sunbird. Okay, you got your sun, then you got your rogue. If you look at X-Men, rogue, she take more than one form. When she's the firebird, she's the Pontiac, the sunbird, the firebird. I'm gonna get into a whole video about the Pontiac and the sunbird and break that whole thing down to you in the future. But the rogue would be the moon, would be the polarity of her. That's her higher self and lower self. So when we say Raphael, that Ninja Turtle having this pitchfork, he represented one polarity of that Dogon. The other pitchfork that he got in his other hand is the other polarity. So when by him holding a pitchfork in both hands, the Ninja Turtle Raphael got your Dogon symbol right there. Okay, your yin and yang, your Ra and your Fa, which is your negative and positive again. And like I said, that circuit, that sun and moon stirring up the elements. Raphael. Okay, L, and you see in his symbol of his weapon the same thing I'm showing you with the Dogon, and I'm showing you how all of this stuff play out, okay, with the negative positive creating a balance, or the balance in the battery. All of this stuff is the soul willing itself into existence when we talk about the Merkaba, and we'll get on that later. So this pitchfork, okay, represents the elements, all right, represents the E, the Elohim, okay, is not some space creatures, some lizard gods and all of that spookism that they corrupted this Dogon science and all of this stuff, y'all. I got a lot of work to do freeing our minds. All of this stuff go back to the Mother Earth cosmology, y'all. It all go back to old kingdom Kemet. This what I'm doing right now is just an intro. I haven't even gotten into the Hyksos invasions and showed you how they later blended the patriarch with the matriarch and all of that. So stay with me now. I'm gonna show y'all how this works, how the complete yin-yang symbol represents the X, or the divine feminine. When she splits herself, she creates man, or the immaculate conception. All right, man was created by immaculate conception. That's why the X can create the Y, because the X is both of the Y's. The woman can give birth to the man and the woman, because she's the original divine force of this cosmic egg. If you look at the shape and design of this cosmic egg, you can tell it's built by a feminine deity, or a divine feminine, what we call it. So back to Raphael. Understand that when we talk about the L, we talk about the elements, because the elements, or the Elohim, is what creates all of the dimensions. There are different elements that create different dimensions, and there are some elements that we see on all of the dimensions, like water and, you know, light and stuff like that. But there are some elements they don't even know about. So there are some Elohim that they don't even know about. Don't let the word Elohim throw you off, y'all. Don't get into all of this spookism. It's just elements. Each element have its own characteristic or a consciousness of itself, just like each human. All right, that's why we can look at them in spiritual ways like the Elohim, but they're not these physical guys somewhere, you know, guarding a Stargate, people. It's no such thing as a Stargate, y'all. It's a cosmic womb, a black hole, a divine feminine. All right, it's not a Stargate. Anything that's gated can be guarded, okay? A womb is welcoming you. All right. So understand that the Elohim, or the elements, is the building blocks of the dimensions. The dimensions, or the cosmic layers, are the building blocks of the cosmic egg. And everything is created in this continuum, this as above, so below pattern. This negative positive balance is a battery that will create eternal power forever. Okay, based on this pattern. But like I said, if you go back to previous videos, you can see where they messed the pattern up by turning one of the arches the same way. So if you look at this, the symbol that NASA gave y'all for the cosmic eye, that cosmic eye symbol is bogus. Like I said, it's deception, it's painting, illustration. What they're showing you is this bee goddess again, this Dogon symbol. Come on, people. You think it's just some up in space that look exactly like this Dogon symbol, look exactly like this beetle? It just so happened to be up there, this symbol that all of these ancient people did, this Cuban link symbol that I've been telling y'all about. You think they just found it up there? That's a drawing. They able to put it up there and fool y'all with it because y'all think outer space is real when they just showing you ancient cosmology and keeping your tax money that you spending in NASA to deceive you with them bogus images. What you looking at on that cosmic eye is nothing but NASA stealing this ancient science from the Dogon, because that cosmic eye creates the same balance and polarity like this Dogon sign and this yin yang sign. I'm telling you, it's all the same thing. And if you look in the middle of this cosmic eye symbol, the football is there. Like I said, at the end of the field is 2 field goals like the Dogon symbol. Now I'm finna do a demonstration here. This is a rush through introduction, y'all. I'm speeding it out here to introduce you to it, so when I do these demonstrations and get more in detail with it here in a minute, you can have all of this as a foundation. You can replay this and it'll make sense as you rewatch the videos. Like I said, this cosmic eye creates this little football shape in the middle. That represents, again, the place where the night meets the day, or the yin meets the yang. That's where the energy come from. That's the pole. Like I said, the North Pole goes through the center of the cosmic egg, so it splits it up 50-50, just like this yin yang. It don't matter how you split the circle. You can put the S in the middle or a straight line. If you put the straight line, you just creating a D. The symbol D is for dome. All that is the arch or the dome. The arch is the dome. So when you say the word arch, the symbol for the arch would be the alphabet D, which is the beginning word of the word dome, which has the root word do. So when you say dome, you saying do it, just do it. That's what the creator did. It's done, okay? And we're here now based on the creator's creating that dome. And if you really want to go deep, the word dome can mean do me, because when the creator did it, everything came into existence. Me, you, and everything based on that dome in the beginning. All right, this stuff go real deep, y'all, depending on how deep you want to look into it. I'm gonna take you deep into the rabbit hole on this channel. The D is nothing but the bow and arrow. Like I said, a bow, when you take a bow, that means you're done, you're ending when you take a bow, okay? That's the bow, when you bow. When somebody done what they show, when a comedian or actor finish they show, they take a bow, okay? They bend at the bowels, and that bowl, that cup I'm telling you about in the underworld, because the show's over. So take a bow. So when the life's over, you go to the bowl or the bowl or the bowels of the earth, okay? That bowl, that underworld is the bowels, and you exit through the anus and gas, okay? And the process redoes itself and you trickle back out and in again. So that gas ascends, and then when it ascends, it descends when it becomes liquid, and then connects with solid, and then able to descends back to the plane again. That's the same way we see precipitation. That's the journey of the soul. Now, what's deep about it is everything I just told you is the whole journey of the snowflake. And if you look at the snowflake, it's shaped just like the macabre as well. So everything descends to this earth plane with this vortex chemistry, and a macabre, as above so below, one triangle up, one triangle down on your macabre, and that's how you descended here, just like the snowflake, okay? From gas, liquid to solid. And your density, you came on down to the material or the physical, using that magnetic energy or that magnetic energy. And when we say we're a Mac daddy, you got to understand that when you say the word Mac, the first 2 words is Ma. So he's a Ma daddy. He's saying he got the power to get all the mummies. See, he's a Mac daddy, a Mac daddy. You always look for that Ma root, okay? One thing you don't want to do is make Big Mama mad. Now let's move on. And if you look at the beetle and the bee, then you can see that it represents this journey, okay? With the vortex energy being the antenna, and the back legs going down representing the bowl, okay? That spiraling energy, that spring energy. You go down into the bowl and back to the dome, back to the midpoint, down to the bowl, back to the dome, then back to the midpoint. So the bowl is just where you get your spring energy from. Like I always tell y'all, if I tell you to jump, you gotta stoop down so you can jump up high. Just like you got to lay down at night and get some rest so you can get up in the morning refreshing. Microcosm, macrocosm, it plays out in a continuum. So you got to go to that bowl, and it's like a spring, like a spiral, like your toilet bowl. Like when you flush your toilet bowl, bowl, you see a vortex in that hole. When we say spiral, the word spirit and spiral have relation. This is the journey of the spirit, okay? This spiraling vortex motion. And what you will find is there's one vortex pointed one way and the other one pointed the other way. And we're going to get deep into this in a minute. So if you notice the recycle symbol that we use for recycle, it's just a vortex, okay? It's representing a spiral, the recycle symbol. So that's what we talk about when we talk about the bowl or the underworld. Your last game, you go to the Super Bowl. That's a victory. That means you've accomplished everything you accomplished. It's time to get ready for next season and you come back better and stronger. So this is a beautiful cosmology we have and a beautiful system that the Most High have set up in this heaven that we call Earth, okay? So we'll get deep on this spiral, this vortex, this place of recycling where resurrection happened. Like I told you, when you spring up like the obelisk, the rise erection, okay? All of this stuff is symbolic. So when you look at the yin and yang, you go from the yin to the meeting point, which is the very line in between to the yang. Then you meet another line or meeting point just like that, and a continuum keep going. So this cosmic eye, the football represents that womb, all right? That womb, okay, of that weaving where we get life from, because that womb is only available, or that opening is only available based on this polarity. So when you look at this cosmic eye, again, you're looking at this same Dogon symbol that y'all think we from Dogon-Sirius and we some reptilian people. The reptile or reptilian aspect is nothing but the serpent energy, the vortex spiral pattern, 6-9 yin-yang S pattern energy at the pole. Keep that in mind. We not no snakes, y'all. We ain't mixed with no aliens and no creatures, y'all. They got us deceived. When you look at this cosmic eye, it's that Dogon symbol, and the football in the middle represent the place, the meeting place, or the midpoint, like I said, an earth plane where everything happens at, where the existence take place or the experience. But we know that everything happens in the spiritual and plays out on this physical earth plane, all right? So like I said, a continuum, a cosmic layer. No dimension is separate from the other. No layer is separate from the other. Just like when you look at an egg, you got the hard shell, then you got the white part, then the yolk, okay? It all makes the egg, all right? You don't have to travel to some part of space to get to the other part of the layer. It's all within the egg. It's different parts of you. You go within to go without. So this is beautiful stuff, y'all. Keep in mind what I'm telling you, because at the end of the football field, it's the field goal. Like I said, that's the same Dogon symbol. If you stretch the football field out, you got the Dogon symbol. It's this same cosmic eye symbol that you see, or this bee goddess, or this beetle. Because y'all gotta realize that the bee and the beetle was like the same concept or the same thing to our ancestors. That's why they both start with B-E-E. So the bee and the beetle represents this same concept. And we're gonna begin deep into this. This is just an intro. The serpent energy creates the Merkaba. So I'm gonna attempt to give an example through the symbolism itself, how this works, how the serpent energy creates the Merkaba. When you look at the symbolism, the serpent energy is nothing but that polarity energy. If you look at the pole, it's two snakes, it's not one. It's two of them. It's a polarity, negative, positive. And the pole is the polarity, the actual energy that they create. So when you look at the serpents wrapped around a pole, you're looking at the yin-yang symbol. You're looking at the Dogon symbol. All of this is the same thing, the bee goddess, y'all. So the yin-yang, like I said, you're looking at one side the yin, one side the yang, but both of these polarities create the entire symbol, the yin-yang. When you look at both of these snakes wrapped around a pole, you got one snake negative, one snake positive, but both of them create this pole energy, or what we call the magnetic North Pole, or the magnetic. It's magnetized by the divine feminine who's creating this polarity. Like I said, she can split herself up and be both. She can have the man and the woman because her X chromosome is made by both of the Y's. Like I said, Y plus Y equals X. If you turn one Y up and turn one Y down, you get the X and you get the Dogon symbol, and you get this beetle and this bee goddess, and you also get this cosmic eye that NASA copying and deceiving y'all with all of this stuff with. So I hope y'all see what I'm talking about. One Y up and one Y down creates the X. So when a woman splits herself, she creates Adam. She don't come from Adam's rib, and the earth don't come from the sun. There's a divine feminine. The earth is the center of the universe, okay? The sun serves the mama. That's why it's called my son. You're a mason, all right? You're a being, but you're not the queen bee. The sun is not the queen bee. The sun serves the queen bee as well as the moon. In fact, the queen bee is what's stirring the sun and the moon, creating this hive energy. If you look at the bee stinger, the stripes on the bee stinger represents the spiral. That's another significant thing about the bee, why the ancestors revered the bee. The stinger stripes represents this circle, tornado type vortex thing that I'm telling you about. And if you look at the tip of the stinger, you can see that spiraling pattern creates a point that actually creates energy that can sting you. All right. Like I told you, like the bat symbol creates the cone, the sun and moon creates a point at the center of the earth, and this energy keeps doing it all over again. So if you take a cone and face one cone up and face one cone down, you get an hourglass. Okay, both of these things up and down is what create time itself, or eternity. So when you take one of the cones up and one of the cones down, like I said, invert them and keep it going, you get the hourglass. So the bee stinger represents this same spiral energy. The black and yellow is significant, and that goes back to the New Orleans Saints and the New Orleans Hornets. If you notice, in the state of Louisiana with their pro sports teams, they got the Hornets and the Saints. That's based on this same cosmology that the Moorish ancestors knew about, but for some reason played their part and helped corrupting the planet. Now, to get off subject, a lot of comedic people say that the Moors sold us out in so many ways, but I'm telling you, one of the most important ways was in the cosmology. Okay, they played their part in the rise of the patriarch, and as well as a lot of pharaohs and Kemet who introduced many sun gods and took the mother off of the throne. So understand that the mother rules and the male is on the enforcement of the law. The Most High, or the divine feminine, sets the law in the courtroom, and the beings or the bees come on the plane and enforce that law. And that's what the man do with the woman. And as he enforced that law, he's also sustaining it by doing so. So like the sun sustains the earth along with the moon, and everything gets a continuum. I don't want to lose you guys. I hope it's all making sense to you. So like I said, it goes back to the New Orleans Saints, because when you look at the Saints anchor, or this symbol that they use for the Saints, it's only the bee goddess. The Saints symbol and the New Orleans Saints football team is black and gold because they are representing the bee goddess. All right, the Saint symbol, that little anchor you see, is nothing but the bee. It's the bee. Look at the bee and look at the Saint symbol. They got this symbol from nature. Nature didn't copy it from them. You think they created this anchor, this Saint symbol, out of originality? And you think they chose to make the New Orleans Saints black and gold out of originality? You think they don't know about this bee goddess cosmology that I'm telling you about? Get real, people. You think the New Orleans Hornets being their basketball team ain't for a reason? Because the hornet has the stinger. The hornet represents this bee cosmology. In fact, the root word of the word hornet goes back to Horus, goes back to the horn, which is the ram's horns. The hornet is the horned net. All right, and the horn is the vortex energy. Those ram's horns is just the V, the vortex. Like I said, the alphabets and the animals are all symbols. I'm giving y'all the mystery of the glyphs right now. I'm revealing this stuff to you, as well as showing you how to look at it to decode it for yourself. You got to pick it all apart, people. They created a false vortex energy and got you inside of their matrix when you accept their theology and their cosmology. You're not really in tune into the true information that's coming from the luminaries above you via the vortex energy that we are receiving in this cosmic egg. There's a blockage in the way, and that's theology. That's the bull crap they giving you that's keeping you from decoding what I'm telling you here. But it's going to all come back to us at this time, and as this information spreads. So the dimensions, the cosmic layers are glued together by the Elohim, or the elements, all right, which are the building blocks of everything. All right. Understand that this this pattern, this continuum can manifest itself in so many ways from different cultures throughout the time. And again, the Dogon symbol is nothing but the yin yang symbol or the bee goddess. All right. Like I said, it's the saints, the New Orleans saints with the black and gold. That saint is nothing but the bee, and the black and gold come from the color, of course, of the bee. So all of this stuff, nothing of it is original. And like I said, I'll do videos on just the saints and the hornets and the etymology on all of that in the future. I just want to stay on this. Like I said, it still is the intro. Now, we got to touch a little bit about the hexagon, because when we talk about the Merkaba, it's created the same way of this positive negative, this polarity, creating the midpoint. Okay, when you look at the Merkaba, you looking at one triangle pointed down, one triangle pointed up. Just like everything I've been showing you with this Dogon symbol, y'all. One pitchfork pointed up, one pitchfork pointed down, okay? It's this same pattern that all the ancients knew. The Dogon know it too, y'all. But we've been lied to. Europeans been telling us the Dogon, said we from Sirius and that we snake people and all of that. I'm telling y'all how simple this knowledge is, all right? All of them spook stories ain't gonna do nothing but throw our children off. This is the knowledge we need to get us on track and quit dealing with stories and fairy tales, y'all, and accept reality. All right. Like I said, the Dogon sign is the two inverted pitchforks. And when we talk about the Merkaba, it's built the same way. One triangle up, one triangle down. When you connect them, you get a midpoint. Just like everything else I've been telling you. The dome above your head and a bowl up under you creates the Earth midpoint plane. They say that's Saturn. So when you see this circle with the line in between it, they want to say that's Saturn. Also, you can look at it as the disk or the surface of it, with the ice ring being Antarctica. But staying on point with the Merkaba, what I want to point out is that polarity, all of these things creates a midpoint or balance, like I'm telling you, or battery. That's what makes it a battery, because the balance creates the power. The negative and the positive, the balancing creates the power. When you talk about the Merkaba, this same knowledge and science apply to you too. So one triangle pointed up would be the higher self. One triangle pointed down would be the lower self. In the middle, you see that a hexagon is formed. That's the midpoint created by you, the Merkaba. Now that hexagon in the middle is the heart of the Merkaba. When you say the word heart, you're saying earth. The word heart and earth and medium and midpoint are all the same. Okay, your heart is in the center of your body, and if your heart stops, your whole body will die. So the midpoint is what's so divine about you being the human, you being the medium, and the earth being at the middle or the center of the cosmos. So back to the Merkaba, how it relates to you is that the higher self comes together with the lower self, and guess what? The hexagon that's formed in the middle is the honeycomb. That hexagon is the cube. That's the body. That's you, the physical manifestation, the manifestation. The manifestation, okay? When the higher self connects with the lower self, it's the spirit wielding itself into existence, creating you, the midpoint, the polarity, what they're calling the hex, okay? You're not a curse. You're not born into sin. It's a beautiful honeycomb. It's a beautiful pattern. So notice that when you look at the 6-point star, above the hex is a triangle pointed upward, and below it's a triangle pointed downward. Just like in the planetarium system, the triangle pointed downward would be the underworld, or the bowl I've been telling y'all about. The bowels, the bowl, the bowels of the earth. And the one pointed up would be the firmament or the dome. That triangle right there that's pointed up at the top, you see they put the all-seeing eye in that one. So you're looking at the spring energy. Each side of this 6-pointed star, you got your hourglasses, which one side is the sun, the other side is the moon. Again, your negative, positive. This whole Merkaba vessel is the same thing that the earth is. The cosmic egg is nothing but a big Merkaba, okay? A planisphere, All right. The square in the middle is the 360. Just like the square, the hexagon in the middle of the macabre forms a cube, which is a square, which is a 360. At the middle of the cosmic egg is the earth plane circle. It's a 360 disc. And the whole thing itself is inside of a 360 spherical type encasement. But we're not on the surface of it. We're in it. Okay. We're in the egg. So just like your macabre, just like your heart, it's in your body. And because your heart is beating, what your heart is doing the same polarity. It's going, in, out, contracting, expanding, negative, positive, creating that same balance like the battery. Okay, negative, positive. This thing is a continuum, and your heart is in the center of your body. And if it stops, you die. The hex in the middle of your macabre represents your physical body. So when the higher self meets the lower self, you physically spun yourself into existence. That's why it's called existence. When you say the word hex, if you take the H off, because the H is really silent in a lot of these words, it's X, EX. Hex is X. And that goes again. EX is also the latter X itself, back to the divine feminine again. So when you come here through the hex. That's the heart of the macabre. And the heart of the macabre, remember, heart and earth is the same word. You come through the earth of the macabre, which is the center of your macabre, the hex, okay? That's the earth of your macabre. Just like the cosmic egg got a dome above it and a bowl beneath it, your macabre got a triangle above it, the higher self, and a triangle pointing down the lower self, the positive and negative, that even manifest you here, or manifest you here through the hex. And when we talk about the EX, remember what I'm saying, the H can be silent, so you actually X into existence. And the final process to get you here is again the EX. Again, we see in the word sex. So all of this X that you see, the X at the end of sex and the hex in the middle of the macabre, you X into being, because the divine feminine is the X chromosome. And when you look at the X, you looking at again a macabre, okay? Because the X is nothing but those two triangles again, point up and down. It's also the hourglass. It's your time. You on a planet now. It's your time to live. So you hex into being. Many of y'all just didn't catch that. You actually hex into being. The hex is the honeycomb, and you hex into being. You're the bee. Okay, remember the bee and the honeycomb. The honeycomb is at the middle of the macabre. So you actually hex into being, all right? And then when it's all over again, you meet the EX again, because you have to exit, all right? Now, a lot of this X symbolism, they want to put a stigma on it to get you a fear against the divine feminine. It's psychological warfare. That's why growing up in this country, when you look at the symbol for poison, it's an X. It's a skull with two bones crossed together. That symbolizes what I just told you about the hex in the middle of the macabre. They look at you like a curse because you coming here. The bones and skulls represent you coming here in the body. You got to come into being with bones and skulls and flesh in your body. You know what they call your carbon meat pack, your 666 hex, but it's really the 360. So this your vessel that you traveling through the cosmos or the cosmic egg in. So understand that the poison symbol telling you the same thing with the bones up there with the X right there. You X into being and you X out and you go back to those bones. You come in here and you put on the bones and the skin and the body, and then you give the bones and the skin back. So it's X. You see it on the poison sign, but the X, like I say again, is just the divine feminine. You don't want to look at any of this stuff with fear. It's really beautiful science. So to be in existence, X marks the spot, okay? The divine feminine. So you're existing right now, existing. And when you cease to exist, you're going to exit. You're going to exit. And then you're going to come back into existence.